Hello. Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Maria Sulindro, integrative anti-aging from Pasadena, California. Welcome to my channel today. We are going to talk about an update on COVID and vaccine. And I have my special guest, Dr. Cynthia Shelby-Lane, who is also integrative anti-aging medicine from Detroit, Chicago. And yes, hi Cynthia.
Hi, I'm from
Hello,
Detroit.
Cynthia.
Hi Maria. I'm from Detroit and Chicago. My family's in Chicago. I live in Detroit.
Yes. Okay. So, Dr. Cynthia and I would like to probably give you just a little bit of disclaimer. We are not immunologists. We are not infectious disease doctor. We are doing integrative medicine. We share with you our knowledge about COVID and vaccine as much as we can and what we do in our practice. Right, Dr. Cynthia?
Absolutely. What we do
Yes.
every day. Yes.
So let's start with the story about this new outbreak due to the new strain and what is this new strain, and maybe you can share with us, Dr. Cynthia, about that one.
All right. So the COVID-19 coronavirus has been mutating ever since it was found or discovered somewhere late 2019, 2020. But more recently, there has been a new variant or a new strain, so to speak, that is the ones we're hearing about mostly are the UK variant. It's called B.1.1.7. There's a South African variant called B.1.351. They have names and numbers, and the Brazilian variant 1128. So those are the most common ones that we're hearing about nowadays because they're highly contagious. They're more transmissible, and they have found their way from these countries, UK, South Africa, and Brazil, into the United States. So it's going to make the whole pandemic a little bit trickier in terms of getting people vaccinated. Will the vaccine take care of the variants? Those are questions on people's minds. And the problem with the variant, just so you understand, is that if you get a vaccine, the variants their genetic code may come into your body, and it may be able to evade your immune system, both your innate immune system and your adaptive, like your natural killer cells and your T cells and B cells. And it's like and it may evade the vaccines as well. So that's why people are really worried about this. It's this, think of it as somebody sneaking into your house at night and they bypass your alarm system. That's why the variants are um, so at the forefront of the news nowadays, and it's scary at some point. But we want to make sure we talk about how to handle this and what it means for you and your immune system as we talk about vaccines.
Mm-hmm. So is that it has something to do with why people are doubling the mask or tripling the mask?
Right. So masks have two purposes. One is to protect you from spreading it and from getting it. And so now with the mask, there's the cloth masks that people were making. Those are not very effective for reducing transmission. So now Dr. Fauci even said today, Dr. Fauci and the America's infectious disease doctor said, well, we can't say it from a scientific point of view, but we will say if one mask is good, you're probably doing yourself some good by double masking. Some people don't believe that, but at work, I double mask. And so I just want to protect myself and other people as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. But what about the story about that 9 years old boy?
So that's interesting. That's part of the children's COVID story. It's a system that there's a condition that children get called MISC, multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children. It also happens in adults as well. But the 9-year-old, and I only saw a story in the media, so I don't have much information, but he's 9 years old. He lived in Texas. He had asthma. He was doing well, and then very shortly after, within the same day, he got sick. His mother noticed that his lips were blue, he couldn't breathe, and he died within 24 hours. So that case is one that makes you really try to figure out can COVID affect children and what's going on? Maybe it's the new variant, we won't know until we have more information. It's very sad, though. Very sad.
Mm-hmm. Yes, some doctor also call it happy hypoxia, where the oxygen just drop drastically.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
right. Yeah,
Right.
very bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And this little boy did have asthma, so he had like maybe a pre-existing condition. So
Mm-hmm.
we won't know until later.
Okay. Now, you know about this neurological deficit. I heard from several doctors who are in the front line taking care of COVID, and also the one that does the rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
They have these symptoms associated with the COVID-19, and give them the sequelae, or which is the symptoms, the symptoms that linger after the
Right.
disease is gone. So isn't that depend on your immune system?
It actually does, Maria, Dr. Maria. It so in the beginning they thought there was this two categories of people who got COVID. Those who had a mild condition and got well within 2 weeks, and those who had severe COVID and were hospitalized and then still got out. As a matter of fact, the death rate for hospitalized patients has gone from 80% now to 34%. But now there's this third category where they think 10% of people have symptoms after 28 days. They're prolonged. They include mild and severe cases. And they're people who get mostly fatigue and tiredness and a cough, and they just can't seem to recover to their the usual state of energy. So this is called the long hauler syndrome. And I think NYU is now doing a study, a new NYU, the Langone, Langon Health in New York City they're doing a study to look at the brain, the spinal cord, the nerves, and the muscles for people who are reporting headache, fatigue, difficulty speaking, sort of like stroke-like symptoms, and even sleep disorder. So it's one of the things we need to look out for. People are starting to experience that, and that's because of the inflammation that COVID causes in your body. So we're
Mhm.
looking at that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Regarding vaccine, regarding vaccine, so some people, of course, they want to be vaccinated, and they are, some of them, they think that they are more immune now, and so they can be they cannot get reinfected. But I don't think that is true, and we need to talk about that, Dr. Cynthia.
All right, so let's go back to. I'm going to go back to so we're in February of 2021,
Mhm.
and so far the data. I think this is out of Johns Hopkins because they keep all the data, if you believe it. But I don't believe that. So this is what I believe. All right, this was been reported worldwide: 2.2 million cases. The United States has close to 450 million cases now. They expect that's 450,000 deaths, and they expect by the end of February up to 534,000. So even though we're going down, they
Wow.
still, with the variant, they expect it might go back up. Brazil, Mexico, and India are behind those. So the deaths are going down, the hospitalizations are going down, the number of people are going down, but you got that variant on the way, and people are now saying, what about the vaccine? So let's look at vaccine data.
Mhm.
Out of, I think, close to, and this changes every hour, you know that. So I have about 60 million vaccines that have been distributed. About 33 million people in the United States have gotten their first dose. Of those, 6 million have gotten their second dose, and they're trying to administer currently 1.34 million vaccines per day. And that's Pfizer and Moderna. Those are mRNA vaccines that they're distributing. So then people are saying, well, if I already had COVID, do I need to get the vaccine? According
Yeah.
to the CDC and the agencies, the answer is still yes. Can you be reinfected? The answer is still yes. Should you still be masking and protecting yourself and social distancing? The answer is still yes. As of now, I think you and I discussed this, the number of deaths worldwide. So let's think about 2.2 million people have a COVID worldwide.
Mhm.
Um, 300 people have died, according to what we've looked up. about 300.
350, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
about. So those numbers will go up as well. So the vaccine is there to protect your immune system. It's to help your immune system when the virus comes in. So if you already had COVID, you built up some sort of an immune system. Can you be reinfected? The answer is yes.
Yes. So how many vaccine do we have now? How many kinds of vaccine
Kinds.
are available and or being distributed and people can get it?
Right. So Pfizer, we know.
Yeah.
Moderna, I think people know. Johnson and Johnson just got emergency use authorization for a single dose as of today. This is February 4th. AstraZeneca, Oxford, out of the UK, they've done some clinical trials here in the US, but it's not available in the US. Now it's available in Europe. And there's Novavax. And I think there are two or three along the way, but those are common names now. Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, AstraZeneca, Novavax, and there are more in development, but these are the ones that are in use in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I think Russia has a new Sputnik 5. So I don't know what's happening all over the world, but Sputnik 5 I just saw from Russia.
Okay. But we don't have it here.
No, not at all.
Now, is there, I heard that the common side effects, or actually it's just a reaction when you have vaccines,
Mhm.
are similar. Do you know anything that is different, the side effect among all these different vaccines?
So I think all of the side effects are the same. The initial reactions like pain and swelling at the injection site, that's a common reaction. If people have had known allergies to other things, they can get hives. Like if in the past you got hives or you had some allergic reaction and you were taking Benadryl or had an EpiPen, that's a category where you should talk to your doctor and see if your doctor says go ahead and get it. And then there are people who had the vaccine and had an anaphylactic reaction. They passed out and they had to have EpiPen. Are those people who also need to talk to their doctors about getting a second dose? So
Mm,
there's layers of problems, layers of reactions. On the other hand, the number of people who've gotten the vaccine so far, and the reactions are way smaller than the
more.
people who are benefited from it. And I have to say
Yes.
benefit because you and I both know there's a lot of controversy out here. We don't want to ignore that.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, there must be a reason why people should be agree in a vaccination because of the possible herd immunity.
Hmm.
We should recap about this herd immunity.
So herd immunity is when the number of people in a population will allow non-transmission of the virus, or people won't get sick. So either your innate immunity, your biological immunity helps to protect you, or a vaccine protected you. That should be 70% of the population. So in the United States, about 325 million people. You're talking about 200 million people need to be vaccinated.
Yes.
We just said from my data 33 million people are vaccinated. So we're nowhere near protecting the whole community as a herd. And I
Mm,
know people say herd immunity. It's not what I heard. It's herd like you heard of animals. People are like, boy, what are you talking about herd immunity? So that's what that means. Collective community immunity. So we're very far short of that. They're thinking, the government agencies, WHO, World Health Organization, thinks that in the United States that may be possible by the September, October.
oh,
They're optimistic, but you've got to vaccinate people every day.
yes. Uh, Now, can someone refuse vaccination? You think they can?
Absolutely, they can. You have
Yeah.
your right. You have your rights. You have your religious rights. You have whatever rights, human rights. You can refuse a vaccination. Now, does that cause a problem in some industries? Yes, it does. And so you're looking at industries and businesses that restaurants, let's take restaurants for example. People who were in the restaurant business have gone out of business. They want to go back in the business. They may adopt a policy that's all employer related, that if you work for me you have to have a vaccine, and that's with their right. And then if they can, it's an at will employee, they may not be able to work for you. You may have to let them go if they don't follow with your policy. And can a person petition to somebody like ACLU? I really don't know. The American Civil Liberties Union. I don't know that. Then you look at the industries like travel and hotels, and where those people are with people all the time, flight attendants,
Right.
pilots, flying all over the world. So you know they're going someplace and possibly bringing something back. Can the airline industry do that? I don't know. They just, I think the president of the United States just said he's going to help enforce the double mask or masking on planes. So you got a lot of industries you have to think about: trucking, transportation, restaurants, school teachers. But right at this moment, there's nothing that says you have to have the vaccine. And how do you get around that though? It's really between your relationship with your employer.
Yes,
It
yes.
is.
For example, in your area, is the school open already?
High school open for contact sport in Michigan next week, which should be the second week of February. Uh,
Oh,
some parents are still skeptical, and I heard in San Francisco that the teachers said they weren't coming back until they were able to get their vaccine. So you have people, I want the vaccine, I don't want the vaccine, I can't get the vaccine. I want a full, I got my first dose, I got my second dose, and I can't get a dose. Those are the people who are in line. So it's interesting. As a matter of fact, I was trying to get my first dose, and because of my allergies, previous not related to COVID, I had to get into a separate line. So now I'm in a line with 445,000 people. So it's just, I'm okay though. I'm okay with it. I realize the risk, and and you and I talk. We'll probably talk about this in a few minutes about how to protect your immune system. We should always remind people what they should be doing as well.
that's right.
Okay.
All the supplement that you need to continue taking, vitamin C,
Right.
vitamin C 2 to 3 thousand milligram. But
Yes.
the fat soluble, I only advise maybe like a 1,000 milligram. That's good enough for palmitate, or
Mm-hmm.
A2D3, or just D3 for children and young adult.
Yes.
5,000 IU. That's my recommendation.
Right.
The
Absolutely.
zinc, I use zinc palmitate 50 milligrams. I use the beta and delta, no, gamma and delta E,
Mm-hmm.
400 IU. And I use quercetin and A.
Quercetin.
Yeah. Some people don't, but I have it. So that's in my list
Regimen.
of regimen. Yeah.
Right. Right.
What about the children? If they open this sport for school time, do they actually vaccinate the children there?
No, because so children, you're talking about sports.
Mm-hmm.
They when they did the clinical trials, I think the children were 16 and older. So they're not giving the vaccine to 16 and younger. We know that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's not in the group. The other group that's not getting vaccinated, that I'm still reading about, are pregnant women. And does the vaccine cross the placenta if the mother was vaccinated during pregnancy? Did it cross into the placenta? Is the baby now vaccinated? So those are just questions. We can't answer those today. We might
Yeah.
answer them next time, so those are still some concerns because they did not do clinical trials in children or pregnant women.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
Unknown.
so we don't know, right?
Even the medication are still used as off-label. So we just have to see, and after we get enough data, we can for sure telling people about that. But after when they get vaccinated, in my office, we do check the antibody for
Mm-hmm.
testing for even before, because none of my I think maybe a few patients are vaccinated in Pasadena.
Uh-huh.
65 and older, they are open now
Yes.
for a vaccination.
Right.
But and at what point this will be done? What do you know? If antibody is not there, are they going to repeat the vaccination?
So that's a good question. So say for instance, you got the vaccine, or you saying you got the vaccine,
Yes.
and or you had COVID. Which one are you talking about? You had the vaccine, or you had
You have the well, if you have COVID, you expect your body create antibody also, right?
right, right.
So if the antibody is positive, do they still need vaccine?
Okay, that's a good question. I don't think I read enough literature to know that, but the answer from the CDC is still yes, you should get vaccinated. The answer is still yes.
Mhm.
because that's part of innate immunity. And can your immune system mount a response that's going to be equal to plus the vaccine? So here's my body mounting a response, and here's the vaccine. So it's like a double layer of armor. And so the answer still is yes, you have antibodies, you probably should get it. But I
Mhm.
don't know. See, that's where the infectious disease doctors are so special. And I keep reading other literature just so we'll know and we can cover things. But those are still questions we have to. Patients will ask and they say, should I get it? And they want to know.
Some doctors who receive the vaccine and check their antibody and it's positive, and then they receive the second time because
Mm,
the vaccine was available for 2 doses. Uh,
right.
you go with the Johnson and Johnson that you said it's
Yeah.
being released.
Yeah.
However, we still also do not know how long this antibody will last. So I guess
Right.
we still have to keep checking maybe every 2 to 3 months to see if they still are there. Then they know. Otherwise, there is no study.
There's no study. And I think the people who want to be checked more often are the people that we talked about in the beginning, the long haulers. You know, the people who are still having symptoms. What's going on? Did I have COVID? Is it is the antigen still there? Am I still positive? Am I reinfected? What is my antibody response? So those people, those are going to be a group of people that are going to be studied for a long time, for probably 10 years or more at least, to determine what happened to them. Are they doing well? Did they get sicker in the future? What's their immune system like? And so those are
Yes.
good questions.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a little bit about these, like the contraindication of vaccine. People who has arterial fibrillation, or some people who has uh, premorbid situations
Okay,
like
so the
myocarditis.
so for those people, according to the American Heart Association and some cardiology associations, they felt that with the people that they have seen who've gotten the vaccination so far, who had pre-existing problems such as hypertension, heart attack, congestive heart failure, cardiomyopathy, those people who got a vaccine, they have not seen any reports of any adverse reactions in that group of people. So the heart associations are recommending yes, it's safe enough at this point for you to get the vaccine.
Mm,
Now, people who got sick with COVID, those people actually did have hypertension. They were at increased risk if they had hypertension, obesity, and diabetes. So that's an inflammatory response. But on the other hand, the people who are getting the vaccines are not having adverse reactions reported to date.
yes, yes. Mhm. Now, what do you think about this story about vaccine was never tested in human before, and it was only for animal? You
Well,
heard
that's
was
yeah, I've heard that, and I know that it was not tested in humans, but there were clinical trials. But there was an animal study, but so I don't have that study. I can't help you with that one. I can't help myself. I don't know the data for that.
but we always tell people this vaccine is available fast because of the worldwide collaboration,
Well,
right?
right, yes, absolutely. Um, if you think about how things are developed in the scientific world, this is what I learned. Every 3 to 5 years, there's like a major event to help advance medicine. This happened like in 1 year. And that's because people all over the world on the entire planet were working on the same thing at the same time. That's called intense focus. And because of that, because you have the best in science and the best people in research and the best institutions, and then you had hospitals and individuals that got involved. So all of that information came together sort of very in a narrow bit of time. And with technology, you think about technology. We didn't have the same kind of technology in 1918. In 1918, with the Spanish flu, 25 million people died. There were no antibiotics. People died of pneumonia. I know you sent me an article about that, but there were no antibiotics at that time. There was no oxygen tank. There was none of this. So we've been able to bring this together in a very short period of time. I know it's experimental. It's mRNA. It hasn't been used before. So that makes you wonder, is it new and bad, or is it new and improved? And I think that we have technology, and we have scientists that know how to look at this, and you have to depend upon what you're looking at. If you look at it one way, it's this, look at it over here. So if you keep looking at it, and you and I even discussed this, we've heard so much about it, we think we know, and then all of a sudden we get ready to do this, like on a night like tonight, and all of a sudden, like, Maria, did you see this? Did you see that? So it's interesting. It's fascinating because it's our immune system is what's going to keep us alive.
At our age, some of our friends' parents are still alive. And in fact, my father-in-law is 95. My
Yes.
mother-in-law is 90. They do have premorbid illness, like
Uh-huh.
mother-in-law has diabetes and my father-in-law has high blood pressure. So what do you think about these 80, 90 years old people? Do they need a vaccination, and are they strong enough to undergone the symptoms from the vaccine? I know my father-in-law is strong, but
Mm-hmm.
still, I said, let's just wait and see, because he's 95 in his home. He's not going out, right? People not
Uh-huh.
visiting. So what do you think? This because of the adverse reaction.
So you know that Hank Aaron, the baseball player,
Mhm.
is 80 something less, and he got the vaccine, and then 2 weeks later he passed. But
Yeah.
right, and so that's on people's minds. They're like, why would you give somebody that age a vaccine? On the other hand, those are the people who are most at risk, who need their immune system boosted, which is what all it is boosting their immune system to fight off the vaccine. So you know what? I think 75 and above, 70 and above, if you have morbidities, yes, I believe that you should be getting the vaccine. And the thing is, if you die, you pass on after shortly after getting the vaccine. Was it the vaccine, or was it something else? Was it that time in your life when things were going to happen at any rate? And I don't know how they're going to correlate this. I don't know how they're going to say you're 80 and you had hypertension, diabetes, and you got the vaccine and then you died. No, how can you say?
But the fact is, until today, all those who died after they get vaccinated, they are doing the research and to see
Hmm.
whether it is related to vaccines or not. None of these reported that says that it is related to vaccine. So it
Right,
could be that the premorbid situation where the copromorbid cause some reaction, but still
right,
they cannot figure out whether it's linked to the vaccine directly.
right.
That's what
That
yeah,
right. No direct evidence at this point in time.
not yet. Yeah. So
Um,
what about this fake vaccine?
okay, fake
That's
vaccines.
interesting, isn't it?
Des-
We
fake like designer purses and all that. Fake everything. So anyway, so
question from outside, okay?
the
Fake,
fake vaccines so far, there's I read about a gang in China that was dispersing fake vaccines. Now, where those vaccines got to, don't know. I don't know if they stayed overseas. I don't know if they came to the U.S. I know that people have actually. First of all, you don't have to pay for the vaccine. You don't have to pay for it. So
really?
yeah, so when people pay for it, you got to have something in your brain that says, why am I paying for this? It's free. And so if it's free and I'm paying for this, is this a scam? But so you have to be very aware. And there was a report, I saw it on the news, so I can only say I saw it on the news, that people were lining up in the parking lot and a guy was giving vaccines out for $10,000. So, just common sense should say, no, no, not unless you think you're jumping to the front of the line and you don't really care. So that's it.
Yeah. So this, but that's why people are. What do you think? People are very skeptic now because of those kind of stories.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So I'm just going to address for a moment, because you and I spoke about this, the distrust that people have about vaccines. Then there's anti-vaxxers. There's the Black community, communities of color. According to the data or record so far, only 5% of people and Black population has been immunized. Some people who are getting the vaccine are wealthy, And then the Black community just has a distrust based upon things that have gone on in the scientific community in prisons in Tuskegee, where Black men were had syphilis and they were not treated. The government just allowed them to die even after antibiotics came out. And that was in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So the Black community, it's urban, but they still have a distrust.
Yes.
And I think if you have that kind of distrust, you say, what are my risks of getting COVID? Am I staying in the house all the time? Do I want to go back out and be in the community? Is the vaccine safe? So far, it looks like it's safer than not safe, and I have to put my hand down on that and say, I'm pretty impressed with what I'm reading, and I know that there will always be skeptics, but I think because of what happened last year with Black Lives Matter and people being aware and the young kids say woke. I think that the Black community is they're not going to be taken as advantage of as much anymore. But you still have to be aware, and that's why I say fake vaccines are out there. Make sure you talk to your doctor. Ask your doctor if this is right for you. If you have allergic reactions, if you're pregnant, if you had bad reactions from a vaccine in the past, and if you just have to wait, stay in the house and wear your mask. But there's a lot of education that has to go on in the community, Hispanic, Black. I see a lot of patients every day because I in Detroit, and I'll ask most of my Black patients, "Have you ever had a COVID-19 test?" Most of them haven't even had the test.
Why?
They just haven't had the test.
Wait a second.
They
The
have
test is
they
free,
may not.
right? No, the test is free.
The test is free. They haven't either had transportation or they don't have access to a cell phone. I mean, this is a real issue about I don't trust the vaccine, but I don't even have access to figure out if what news is right, what doctor to talk to, what community person can help me to understand the vaccine. So there's a lot more education that has to happen. I think I'm part of that educational process by just talking to you.
Okay, let me ask you though. Do they have their physician, like primary care physician?
uh, the ones that in general, you know what, yes, they do have family care physicians and some of them can't get to them. I see people who come in from shelters, transitional housing, from prison. Those guys, some of those people in transitional housing and out of prison, even getting out of prison, they hadn't had it. So but most of the time in prison after like March or April, those people that were incarcerated and got out, they had a COVID test.
Mm.
And still there's a general population of people that I'm not going anywhere where I get tested. I don't want it. Why are you coming to see me? So they I think with better education and a bit more trust from people, do they understand that they will go ahead and get the vaccine or just protect themselves,
Yeah.
protect us, protect everybody.
Well, I really thank you for all the information you give us today, and let's just continue reading, and we will tell them next month
Yes,
in March.
in
I think
March.
both, and we'll see, and we'll keep doing this until COVID is gone. And we did not celebrate the COVID's birthday last month. We did not.
We did not.
No, we did. Thank you. Oh, for everyone listening to this live streaming, you can also go back to the previous videos and check, because the first report that we gave you was under a Happy New Year
Happy New Year.
title. Okay, and we really hope that this year is a happier year.
We do. We do.
Yes, we
And
do.
stay safe. Stay safe for sure.
Safe. Thank you, Dr. Cynthia.
Thank you, Dr. Maria.
Cynthia Shelby-Lane from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm Dr. Maria Solindro. We both are integrative anti-aging medicine practicing and practicing in Pasadena, California. See you next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.